As their time at the lodge draws to a close, Emma and Jack face their deepest fears about love and commitment, with the future of their relationship hanging in the balance. Brace yourselves for some emotional turbulence, passengers, as we prepare for a landing in the land of love or leave. Chapter 11. Crossroads. The morning after the hike dawned grey and cold, matching Emma's mood perfectly. She'd barely slept, her mind replaying every interaction with Jack, searching for clues to his true nature. As she made her way to the lodge's dining room, she steeled herself for another day of emotional whiplash. But Jack wasn't at breakfast.
He's on an important conference call.
Alex explained when she asked.
Some big development with his app.
Emma nodded, ignoring the conflicting emotions warring in her chest. Relief at not having to face Jack yet. Disappointment at missing their morning banter. Annoyance that work had once again taken precedence. She was midway through her oatmeal when her own phone buzzed. A text from the hospital back in New York. Dr. Rossi, critical staff shortage. Can you cover extra shifts next week? Emma stared at the message, her spoon hovering halfway to her mouth. Here was her old life, reaching out, offering the comfort of routine and purpose. She could almost smell the antiseptic halls of the hospital, hear the steady beep of monitors. Her fingers hovered over the keys, ready to type out her usual quick agreement. But something held her back. She set the phone down, leaving the message unanswered. The day passed in a blur of group activities. Emma went through the motions, her mind elsewhere. She found herself watching the door, both dreading and anticipating Jack's appearance. It wasn't until late afternoon that she saw him. He burst into the great room, his face alight with excitement.
Great news, everyone,
he announced to the room at large.
The app launch is being fast-tracked. We're looking at going live in just 2 weeks.
The room erupted in cheers and congratulations. Emma hung back, watching as Jack worked the room, all charm and enthusiasm. This was Jack, the tech entrepreneur, in full force, and she felt that familiar unease settle in her stomach. Their eyes met across the room. For a moment, Jack's public persona slipped, and she saw a flash of the more vulnerable Jack she'd grown to care for. He started to make his way towards her, but was intercepted by Alex with a champagne bottle. "Speech," someone called out, and soon the whole room was chanting. Jack laughed, holding up his hands in mock surrender. As he launched into an impromptu speech about disrupting healthcare and changing the world, Emma slipped out onto the balcony. The cold air hit her like a slap, but she welcomed it, hoping it might clear her head. She didn't know how long she stood there, lost in thought, before she heard the door open behind her.
Emma?
Jack's voice was soft, tentative.
Can we talk?
She turned to face him, wrapping her arms around herself. Whether it was against the cold or to protect herself emotionally, she wasn't sure. Jack stepped closer, his expression serious.
I missed you this morning. I wanted to explain about the call, about the app.
You don't have to explain, Jack.
Emma interrupted.
It's your work. It's important.
You're important too,
Jack said, reaching for her hand. Emma let him take it, even as she felt her heart constrict.
Am I?
She asked quietly.
Which version of me? The one who fits into Jack, the tech entrepreneur's world? Or the one who connected with the Jack I thought I knew in that tunnel?
Jack's face fell.
Emma, they're both me. I thought you understood that.
I'm trying to,
Emma said, hating the tremor in her voice.
but I don't know if I can. I need consistency, stability. I can't keep guessing which Jack I'm going to get from one moment to the next.
And I need the freedom to be all parts of myself.
Jack countered, a hint of frustration creeping into his tone.
I can't box myself into one version of me just because it's the one you prefer.
They stood in silence for a moment, the weight of their words hanging between them. Emma felt a familiar panic rising in her chest. This was why she'd kept people at arm's length for so long. Opening up only led to this: confusion, hurt, the sickening realization that no matter how strong the connection, some gaps might be too wide to bridge.
I should go,
Emma said finally, pulling her hand from Jack's.
I need to think.
She brushed past him, back into the warmth of the lodge. Her feet carried her to her room on autopilot. Once inside, she sank onto the bed, her emotions threatening to overwhelm her. Her gaze fell on her phone, still displaying the unanswered text from the hospital. Next to it lay the brochure for the Friendsgiving getaway, Jack's grinning face prominently featured. 2 paths stretched out before her, clear as day. The familiar, safe route of her old life. Predictable, stable, but lonely. And the thrilling, terrifying possibility of a life with Jack, full of passion and adventure, but also uncertainty, and the constant fear of losing herself in his larger-than-life world. Emma's hand hovered between the phone and the brochure. She thought of the Emma who had arrived at this lodge, guarded, isolated, safe, and she thought of the Emma she'd glimpsed in moments with Jack, open, vulnerable, alive. But could that Emma survive in the real world? Could she handle the constant shift between private intimacy and public performance that seemed to define Jack's life? As night fell outside her window, Emma remained frozen in indecision. The warmth of connection warred with the cold comfort of self-protection. The excitement of possibility clashed with the fear of the unknown. In the darkness of her room, Emma faced the hardest truth of all. Sometimes, love isn't enough. Sometimes, the very things that draw people together are the same things that might ultimately drive them apart. She curled up on the bed, arms wrapped tightly around herself, as if she could physically hold together the pieces of her heart that felt like they were splintering apart. Tomorrow, she knew, she would have to make a choice. But tonight, she allowed herself to mourn for what might have been, and for the Emma she'd almost allowed herself to become.